everyone. Welcome back to another powerful episode of Healthy Waves, the podcast where we explore what it truly means to live well from inside out. And today's conversation is, I would say, dear listeners, is a soul nourishing dive that into the world of holistic beauty, healing, and wellness lifestyle. Not as a luxury, but as a necessity. So, we are peeling back the layers of what it means to feel beautiful and whole, not just with our skin, but in our spirit, our choices, and our everyday life. Because here's the truth is, beauty is not about the appearance. It's all about the alignment. Yeah. So it's all about how we live, how we breathe, and how we feel. So, with this, joining me today are the two powerhouse women who have lived and led this truth. Please welcome my first guest, Revan Alvarez. So, welcome to the show, Revan.
Hi, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. And on the other hand, dear listeners, we have Sharon Vendle. So, welcome to the show, Sharon.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad to be a part of this.
Amazing, amazing. So, dear listeners, before we delve deep into this topic, I'll quickly love to introduce you with both Revan and Sharon. So, starting with Revan. So, Revan is the founder and CEO of Seraphine Wellness and Beauty in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And with 25 plus years in the wellness industry, she's not just redefining the beauty, she's actually healing people through it. Yes. And from body rejuvenation therapist to luxury med spa visionary, she is a force of alignment. So, helping people glow from the inside out. And she is also the voice behind Wealth and Wellness Wednesdays. That's amazing, right? Yeah. So, where she blends entrepreneurship, spiritual depth, and authenticity. Yeah. And on the other hand, we have Sharon. So, Sharon's journey, I would say, dear listeners, is one of the radical reinvention. So, after decades in the corporate retail leadership, she switched gears in the midlife. So, left the corporate world, healed through self care, and built a 7 figure wellness business from the ground up. Yes. So, as a massage therapist, esthetician, and the intuitive wellness coach, she lives by one beautiful belief, which is you can always find your true north at any age, at any stage. What a lovely. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Amazing, amazing. So, I'll first come to Revan. So, like I mentioned, you have built luxury med spa that's rooted in the holistic healings. So, how do you balance the aesthetics with the deep, soulful transformation for your clients?
Oh, great question. Thank you. Well, I have my passion behind this brand and this particular business is driven by my passion for healing. I was a wellness coach for 25 years before launching into having a brick and mortar location. So I would work with clients one on one, and um, I've worked with clients who had cancer at different stages. Worked with diabetic and different things. And I noticed along the way that there are different the way that illness and imbalance expresses itself through the body affects what we call beauty. And so by beginning at beauty, at the stages of beauty and helping to work on people with what their physical appearance to make them feel good in the world, also behind what is affecting their beauty is about whatever type of wellness is happening in their body. So it's blending the spirituality, blending the emotional issues that people may have, and then also the daily habits. And those all of those things together have an impact on how we appear to the world, how we show up for ourselves and how we appear to the world. And so this Seraphine is a cross of all of those things together.
Mm, amazing. That's really amazing. And um, like, so how do you personally stay aligned? Like when the wellness industry uh, often pulls towards the surface level beauty.
Mm.
Mhm.
That's one of the reasons I decided to have a business like this was because I wanted to be a voice among the voices of people who are reminding us to that our nature is beautiful. Nature gave us all of the things that we need to be beautiful. So while we do live in a world that is going farther and farther away from nature, uh, our foundation is always there. And so using beauty practices like ancient Japanese practices, ancient Ayurvedic practices, ancient Native American practices, we can take these practices. So we bring these kind of things into the spa and we offer these type of services. So say, for example, if somebody has wrinkles or something, and they're interested in getting rid of wrinkles, they may automatically think Botox because that's what's sold and that's what's pushed and that's what's marketed as the number one way to reduce wrinkles. Whereas people may not know that there are things like gua sha or things like turmeric or things like different stone techniques that actually can change the skin, can change the. And so what we do is make a bridge for that. So people are aware of certain things that get pushed by our society commonly. And then we are the bridge to show people that there are other ways and other places, other areas, and other avenues that actually can produce the same results that they're looking for and have the added benefit of having a side effect of something producing more health in the body.
True. Understood. That's really great. I mean, the balance you speak of between the spiritual care and the physical care, it actually feels, uh, I'd say, so necessary today because
Mhm.
so many of us are actually overbooked or, but obviously undernourished. So sorry for using this word, but yes, uh, yeah.
I
And
agree.
yeah. So I'll come to Sharon. Like, uh, uh, you left a high level corporate job at 39 to start completely fresh. Uh, so what gave you that clarity and courage? Obviously it requires courage for sure to leap into the this entrepreneurship. So uh, what actually gave you that clarity and courage to leap into the holistic entrepreneurship?
So the clarity came because I was living a stressful life and I started getting massages regularly and noticing how not only um, physically how I felt, but also like mentally, just
Mm,
being able to relax the mind, calm the mind. You do think a lot clearer. And I was curious, like, how it's affecting the body. I talked to my massage therapist about it. She told me there's actually a holistic massage school that she attended. It's really about the mind body connection. And it just happened to be in my neighborhood. So I kind of researched it, decided to take classes on the side, but then I just fell in love with the program, the people,
mm,
the energy of it all, and ended up doing the whole program while still working. In the process, my instructor said, because I used to work in skincare, maybe I should consider also becoming an esthetician if you do both.
okay.
She's like, you would never have to worry about work again because there's not a lot of people who do both, who want to do both. And she's like, you really have the touch. So I suggest you look into it. Esthetician school is full time. Most places, it's always 40 hours a week, 5 days a week. So you do have to make a decision to go to school, quit your job. And, I really took some took some time to think about it. And it was right at the time we had the 2008 housing crash and, you know, economy was down, people lost their jobs. But I came from an entrepreneur family and my dad had his own business with my mom. Um, he always believed in doing what you love and following that path. I just didn't know that path until, just living life and I decided, yes, at 39, we're not getting any younger, so take the leap and if it doesn't work out, you can always go back to what you were doing. And that reassurance, that knowing, that I had the experience behind me in my career and it was an option to go back if it didn't work out. Gave me, I think, more confidence and more, willingness to just go for
Mm,
it.
I agree. I totally agree on this. Yeah. And like also like looking back, Was the corporate world more misaligned, or uh, just the wrong season of your life? What do you have to say?
Well, there's definitely no regrets about it because I did meet
Mm,
a lot of great people. I actually worked for a corporation that, you know, we everyone got along so well and it was like a family there and
mm,
so it was a good experience, but
mm,
because it is geared around the bottom line, and driving sales and making profit, which, businesses do have to also do that. But it is, there's no regrets there. It was just a good learning experience. And I believe it's up to everyone to choose like what is a right fit for them. Because
mm,
every company is different. There's companies out there that do promote the work-life balance, but it's very easy for people to just get caught up in the doing and the achieving and getting to the next level. And so it
okay.
is, everybody has to kind of self-reflect and decide what's really important for them.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. And okay, like I mean, definitely, it's powerful to hear that healing doesn't always start with meditation. It can start with a background as well, and sometimes midlife is the perfect time to rise as well. So, um, thank you so much for sharing this. And uh, this is to both of you. Like, what according to you? I mean, healing from inside out mean to you personally, and how it has evolved over time. I mean, if you can share.
Mm.
For me, healing comes from within in terms of what you're putting into the body, what you're
Mm,
putting into your mind, the thoughts you think. And so, being conscientious about what I'm eating does make a difference. And I
mm,
became a certified nutritionist as well. And so we look at, what types of foods are good for you and, what fuels energy, how you process food, and that does matter. I mean, we in the wellness space, we have clients that do detox and cleanses, and if they just do clean whole food eating for 2 to 3 weeks, they notice a huge difference in how they feel. And so we always say too in the aesthetic world that your skin reflects what's going on inside of your body.
mm,
Therefore, if you're having, acne breakouts, a lot of times it does stem from either gut health, hormonal imbalance. We work
mm,
with a naturopathic doctor, to run the test to get to the root cause, and help people to really heal if they can through foods, and through nutrition. Sometimes you might need further assistance, but
mm,
if possible, we try with a healthy diet, exercise, and hopefully that reflects in,
mm.
the outer.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And for Revan.
Yes, I definitely agree with you on all those points, Sharon. Uh, yes, in my own personal journey as well. I'm 54 this year, and I've been practicing these wellness techniques and things like that since I was in my teens. And it makes a difference in how it shows up in your body, how it shows up on your skin, how it shows up in your energy levels and things like that. The kind of things that you do. A clean diet is of massive importance and so that was one of the prime areas of focus. And whenever I would discuss with people about having a healthy lifestyle, diet is one of the primary foundations because it so directly affects your cells. But then it's important to think about the other things that we are consuming as well. So the energy that we're consuming from a partner, from our friendships, and then also from work, since we spend so much time at work, if our workplace is not a healthy environment, and it's like you were saying, Sharon, about the corporate, if our workspace is focused on the bottom line and not focused on being healthy and then being the most productive that we can be and allowing that to be the bottom line, and that's just not done in the world now very commonly. Um, it's important to try to remind the world that those things are important and be again that voice of bringing that. So when I one of my drives to get away from being a solopreneur and working just one on one with clients and actually having a space and having employees and having buildings and building these businesses was also to reconstruct the model of how we work so that work is a more free space where we can take days off without calling in sick if we need to. We can take days off because that's what's for our wellness. You know, having freedom, having the ability to own our own time, feeling comfortable, feeling like who we are and what we bring as humans is valued. A really important part of wellness. It's a huge part. I would say second only to diet and your long term relationship or marriage. The very next thing is your work. And those three things are the cornerstones of health because when those three things are out of balance, all of the rest of our lives fall out of balance. All of our health falls out of balance and it begins to show up in emotional imbalance, which then turns into physical imbalance in our cells and our gut, and then shows up on our skin, in our hair, in our nails, and things like that.
True. Exactly. Wow. And like Sharon, like have your personal definition of wellness shifted now that you are leading a team and building at scale?
Mm, like everyone was saying, definitions of wellness, it
Mm,
is how is your life?
mm,
Is it, do you feel healthy? Are you doing something you love? Are you surrounded by people that are, positive energies in your life? I think that's always consistent. It hasn't changed. Those things are always important when it comes to wellness. Um, the only way it's changed is making it the highest priority, because we are aging. And so it is becoming even more important to make additional time. When you're in your 20s and 30s, you can get away with doing a little bit less in terms of exercise. But as you age, I find that I have to make extra time. I have to, do weight training. You do have to make it more of a priority instead of less as you get older.
okay. And Raven, like, was there a moment in your own burnout or the reinvention when this phrase stopped being a kind of slogan and became your truth?
Oh, yes, definitely. Actually, there have been several. I've had
Okay.
several times where I've had to reboot and start
Okay.
over again. Um, I went through some severe burnout. Actually, in 2019, I had cancer and I had a tumor that was supposed to be removed, and it was a very big reminder to me that. And in the end, just to preface that, I was able to heal it without taking any medication, without any surgery, and but it was a reminder that like Simon was saying, when we don't take the time in our as we get older and in our later process and as our body goes through seasons, and if we don't give ourselves the self-care that's required for the season our body is in, because I don't like talking about older and things like that, but as we when we don't give our bodies the self-care necessary for the season, then we suffer, so we need to be focused on taking in more good things. We need to both be focused on more detoxifying processes and things like that, getting more sleep, getting more rest, getting more, just adjusting our self-care habits as we go along. And whenever in life that I haven't adjusted my self-care in order to match the season of life that I'm in, then I've always found myself going through deep burnout. And then when you're running a 6-figure business or a 7-figure business, you find there are different levels of self-care and reset that are necessary to give yourself, to give the best to those creations and those developments. So it definitely becomes more necessary.
Mm, exactly. So, okay, to Revan again, like the wellness space is often associated with the luxury serums, spas, and supplements. So, how how do we make true wellness accessible without watering it down? So, what do you have to say?
Mm. And again, I think this also goes back to using the most healthy and holistic options that are available because there are the options available in nature that are free, that are completely free. I have a background, I was a yoga teacher for 20 years as well. And it's possible to breathe and adjust your cells. It's possible to change your body chemistry, to change your pH balance inside just by breathing. So there are things that are accessible to us, different elements that are accessible to us completely free. And I think because we live in a busy modern world, the pinnacle is when we combine because if we just ignore the science, the things that are happening around us, the toxins of the modern world, if we ignore that and continue to only address things with nature, then sometimes we find that in a balance because these things are sort of almost steamrolling nature at this point. So by combining forces with new science, new techniques, biohacking techniques, and things like that that are being developed, we can actually sort of fight negative science with positive science. And so I think the range of making things very accessible go to using more holistic. But then we also, if we start to study different biohacking techniques, we find out that there are some extremely cost-effective alternatives to putting things into our bodies. For example, IV vitamin therapy is a a well-priced thing. Think like IV vitamin therapy we offer, peptide therapy, we offer exosome therapy, and some of those things can get very pricey, but they also have lower price points where just tapping into health and also understanding how we can adjust ourselves makes a difference. And then we can also begin to reprioritize where we're putting our money because a lot of times people aren't spending their money on health and wellness because they don't know that certain options exist. So they would rather than spending money, everybody has money for, especially as we, the reality show world that we live in, people are often focused on having material goods and these material luxuries and goods are signs of wealth. But actually, we're shifting now into a world where it's becoming more common for us, our sign of wealth, to be our actual health, to be our health and so we are seeing this beautiful shift take place now. And so, what is cost effective? What may have seemed pricey to people 10 years ago and seemed superfluous, now seems very like within range and within reach, and something that people would want to spend their money on.
True. Exactly true. Yeah. And
Ye- For
yeah, yeah, please.
for us in the wellness space, what you do daily actually accounts for, at least 50% of the results. So if people don't have the budget to come in every month for a treatment, we always let them know it's what you do daily that also affects results. So having a good home care regimen for your skincare
Mm.
will make a huge difference. You can come in once every 3 months instead of every month. So, what people do on a regular basis can also make the dollars stretch a little bit more. And it goes with, even vacations, right? It's wonderful to take nice vacations, but if you can't take one every quarter, what matters is do you take a vacation for yourself by going away for a day, just disconnecting from your, devices? Do you go for walks, 3, 4 times a week? Like doing those things that don't cost much would really extend people's ability to afford wellness in a very economical way.
So lovely. That's really lovely. I mean, this contradiction actually feels real because uh, we want self care for all, but we also want the high standards. Maybe wellness needs the less packaging or more presence. So, yeah. So, Sharon, I'll come to you. Like you have mentioned that this happiness is a choice, but making that choice often involves the discomfort. So, how do you help clients face that discomfort of uh, of growth while staying motivated?
One step at a time. I mean, little steps, sometimes it's just, can you spend 15 minutes sitting in silence, starting in the morning with just 15 minutes of focusing on breathing and just allowing yourself that much, you know, because
Mm,
not everybody, will have the time or make the time to do 30 minutes of meditation or, you know, a 50-minute yoga class. But if you can even do 20 minutes of stretching and, just making small amounts of time, they do add up. It's the same thing with financials, right? Just putting
mm,
a little bit away, even if it's only, you know, $20 a week, that will add up. Those things make a difference. So sometimes it's thinking very small and just starting off with just little steps and being consistent, being very consistent with that is gonna get you way more results in your health, wellness, financial, relationships, Um, if you think about it, if you could just talk to, your parents for
mm,
20 minutes, a couple times a week instead of once a month for an hour, that would give you really strong connection and could give you way more results. So it does apply to almost every area of your life, just
mm.
making just small amounts of time.
Oh, yeah, true. And like, what's the biggest myth that people have about starting over? What do you say?
That it's too late, that they feel like, it's too late in life or, you know, I think a lot of people hesitate, but
Mhm.
I feel like it's never too late to pursue something that's gonna make you happy. It's never too late to, you know, take the risk because the alternative is remaining complacent or settling for less than you want. I think it's always the right time if you feel
Mm,
ready. And even if you're not 100% ready, if you're like 90%, 80% ready, I think it's the right time for people to take that step and just know that,
mhm,
they can always change course. So even if you try something and it doesn't work out the way you wanted,
mm,
you can always change course.
mm. Understood. So, this might sounds contradictory, but it is actually not. So this is for both of you. Like, one by one, you can share your perspective. Like, some people say that inside out model over emphasizes the individual healing. So while ignoring the systematic pressures that affect the wellness, like inequality, stress, financial strain. So, how do you respond to that? I mean, to both of you.
Yeah, that has a few layers there. And I think that speaks to what I was saying before about going as from the holistic, the deeply holistic, natural, all the way to the highly scientific biohacking levels, and in all aspects of life, that same dichotomy, and finding our balance in between that dichotomy exists. I think it's a constantly sliding scale, moving in between those two ends and finding our place so that we can meet whatever life is showing us at that point. So there are times when focusing on the internal, focusing on the detox, focusing on the diet, focusing on our internal wellness and the things that we can do personally are more important. And then also, finding emotional balance, connecting with the people who are close in our life, close in our space, and making sure we develop healthy relationships with them by showing up as our most authentic self and working on our own healing. And then also, it's never safe to go to one extreme or the other. Balance is always found in between. So we have to understand that we do live in a world where there's a lot of injustice, a lot of inequality, a lot of negative things happening. As a woman in business, as a Black woman in business, I have experienced things in the living in the United States that may not be another the experience of another person who might be male or who might be of a different ethnicity than me, and so we have to take all of our different perspectives into into account. Be have the account for what we are experiencing, and we have to recognize that those experiences we take those in, and those become
Mm,
part of our identity. They shift our purpose. They can alter our destiny because of how we feel about ourselves and things like that. So all of those aspects are important, but then also there's a place to recognize that we are the source and the foundation, and part of the power and the beauty of being able to reset and reconnect with our inner selves is that if we are going down a channel where we're finding so much adversity, so much negativity,
mm,
we can always reset, pivot,
mm,
change course and change direction, because just like a river, moves, and there are boulders in the river, there are, to animals that step in the river, there are things that come along the way that we can't predict and we can't alter. We can't do anything about those, but we can alter how we move and flow around the things that come up in life. And that always is an internal journey. So there always has to be that really smooth balance that will change
mm,
throughout seasons of us connecting with who we are and where our purpose is and where we're headed and what's in the way at that time. Sometimes what we think is in the way is part of the way, and sometimes what's in the way is actually something that we need to learn to move around.
mm. Agree. Totally agree on this. And like for Sharon, what do you say?
So I definitely agree with a lot of what she was saying and also emphasize the mindset factor because I do believe mindset is everything. It was very interesting during pandemic. You know, w- eh, I had time to really research a little bit more, listen to podcasts. Um, I'm Japanese and considered a minority in America. I didn't know growing up that I was a minority because I was so fortunate to grow up in Hawaii where the population is majority Asian. And so my perspective growing up was equal. I didn't feel like a minority, so I didn't behave like a minority. And it was very interesting during pandemic because I realized I'm actually a minority. I was like, because I started looking at population, and I was like, Asians account for only 6% of Americans, which was just, it it was very interesting to me because I did talk to a friend who is Asian who grew up in Texas. And she really did feel the difference, and she didn't feel like she had a great childhood. She felt like she was picked on and singled out. And, it's interesting. We live in the same country, but in the different states, we grew up with completely different perspectives on life. And so I do feel mindset is everything. How you see yourself does affect what results happen. And if we can focus on, some people think I need to make millions of dollars, and other people are, for them, it's like, gosh, if I make $100,000,
Mm,
that's awesome. I have an amazing life. Everything comes down to perspective and beliefs. And someone who makes, $10,000 might see that as very fortunate. I can invest that. I can turn that into hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. It's all a mindset thing, even with health and wellness. Someone might think, "I can't afford to pay to go to a gym every month." Whereas others would say, "I live in a great neighborhood. I can go outside. I can go running. Like, that's all I need. I can go to the park. I can," it's how you see your life, how you see what opportunities are out there, where some people might see they don't have much, other people see I have everything. It's just right in my backyard. Um, I live right across from a park and I feel so fortunate. I just crossed the street and I'm, amongst nature and the lake and it's amazing. And other people come to San Francisco and think this is summer, like it's only 62 degrees. Like, how can you live in this? And I'm like, I love this weather. Our weather compared to other places is great. When you look at the full year, we actually are very fortunate with our weather. We don't have the extreme cold and snow and ice or the extreme heat of a heat wave.
Yeah.
So it's all how you look at your life. And I
Mhm.
think if people feel fortunate, they tend to attract
Mm.
more.
Understood. Wow, lovely. Great. And so, any one suggestion you both want to share with our listeners today, what that would be?
Focusing on the power of your mind. So if you are ready to follow your dreams, like go out and do it because the mind is what really attracts everything in your life. It's how you think affects how you feel, which then affects your results. So if you want to focus on one thing, I would say focus on your mindset, focus on
Mm.
how you think.
Lovely. And Raven?
Yes, I would agree with that. And then also add to that to say, to remind everyone again that you can pivot and shift and make a change in your life at absolutely any point in life. And
Mm.
is remain open. I think one of the most important things too, besides having a mindset of gratitude and just a connection to whatever you do have and focusing toward that, also having an open mindset to opportunities is really, really key in in the ability to transform and to take new shape and to take on new things. When we remain open to new opportunities that come to us, then
Mm.
we actually find we develop the capacity for hope, we develop the capacity, and then as we can keep that openness, more
Mm.
comes, just like with gratitude, more comes to us, more beautiful things come to us.
Yeah, amazing. That's awesome. So, I mean, what a radiant and rich conversation, dear listeners. And uh, I mean, if there's one message that echoed today is this: beauty is not something that you chase, it's all something you align with it. So, to everyone who is tuning in, ask yourself, like, what part of me is craving beauty that isn't about how I look, but about how I feel? So, uh, make that space for that and nourish it, because this is the foundation of your most magnetic and most authentic self. So, Raven and Sharon, like if someone wants to connect with you, how they can connect? So, starting with Raven.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at the Raven Alvarez, Raven, Raven Alvarez, Alvarez. I'm also on TikTok. I'm new on that platform, so but it's under the same title. You can also email me at info@seraphinespa.com, and you can see our website, seraphinespa.com. If you're interested, or if you're local, or if you visit the Fort Lauderdale area, you can visit our spa in person and enjoy some of our amazing treatments. And that's on Las Olas Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale. So that's Seraphine Spa.
Amazing. And Sharon.
The easiest way, our website is serenitysf.com. And on Instagram, we're at serenitysf2013. We're located in San Francisco. Serenity Wellness Spa is on Union Street in the Marina Calhalo neighborhood.
Wow, amazing. Great. So, dear listeners, with this hope, until next time, stay grounded, stay glowing, and keep riding the healthy waves. So, thank you so much.